Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today on It's Armageddon. Well, it's Armageddon! Again! Apparently I am very bad at this Armageddon stuff, because Armageddon happens all the time around here. So, the thing today is, alright, we're about to have another nuclear war. The bombs are about to drop. You're heading down to your bunker. You have just enough time to grab one story from each season of Doctor Who. Let's say it's a parallel universe where the Blu-ray sets never came out. So it's only the individual stories on DVD. You have enough time to grab one story from each of the 26 Classic Who seasons. We'll be focusing on Classic Who today. And the rest of your family's focusing on the other essentials. You know, the wife's grabbing the food and stuff, the kids are grabbing the drinks. And you're in a rush to do this. I mean, if you were thinking clearly, you'd have the wife and the kids grabbing Doctor Who DVDs as well, but you're in a rush, you're not thinking clearly. Just got announced, hey, bombs are incoming, get to your bunkers. Now, I know some of the people watching might be going, well, shouldn't you be carrying your kids into the bunker? Look, if there's ever a time for them to learn self-reliance, this is it. They should be figuring this out for themselves. Hopefully, they're grabbing the water. We're focusing on the Doctor Who stuff. So, my question is, one story from each season, which one would you save? Keep in mind, these are the only things you'll have to watch with your family down in the bunker for who knows how long. And for me, season 1, and I didn't write these down, I kind of wanted to do them on the fly. Season 1, I would say The Keys of Marinus. Part of me wanted to say Reign of Terror, and if Reign of Terror was complete, there's a good chance I'd pick it, because I do love Reign of Terror. But I like Keys of Marinus. I think it's the first truly great Doctor Who story. All the ones before that, I think, are just good. I mean, episode 1 of Unearthly Child is a masterpiece, but the rest of the story, while still being good, very underrated, is not a masterpiece. Daleks kind of drags. Edge of Destruction is eh. And Marco Polo, it's hard to say since it's all missing, but the cut down of it's good. But I absolutely love The Keys of Marinus. I like how each episode kind of feels like its own little mini story with almost a seasonal arc being the story arc. I like that. That's a lot of fun for me. For season 2, I'm going to go Dalek Invasion of Earth because I do want a 60s Dalek story, and I really think this would be the only one I would pick. I love the location work. It's such a great goodbye for Susan. There are better stories in the season that I like The Rescue and Planet of Giants I love a lot, and The Time Meddler is amazing. But I'm getting more episodes with Dalek Invasion of Earth, and again, it's one that I would find immensely rewatchable. For season 3, I would take the arc. I would want a complete story, and I've talked before on the channel about how much I really enjoy the arc. It was the first Hartnell story I ever owned on DVD, the first one I ever went out and bought, and I really enjoy it. Such a good twist in the middle of it, and has a high rewatchability for me. Season 4, I was tempted to say Power of the Daleks, but with all of the episodes missing, as much as I love Power of the Daleks, easily my favorite story of the season, and one of my favorite Dalek stories, I would probably actually pick the Moon Base, because I would want something that has a couple episodes intact. I love Troughton, and I love surviving episodes of Troughton, because so much of his performance is down to his physical acting abilities. He's just so amazing with the physicality he brings to the role. And I would want some of that, and the Moon Base is probably my favorite performance of him as the Doctor. He's just so good in the Moon Base. Plus, the animated episodes are done really well. It's probably my favorite animation that's been done for Doctor Who, with Macra being right behind it. So I would probably pick the Moon Base. Season 5, Tomb of the Cybermen, more so because it is complete and it is a good story, and 60 Cybermen definitely needs some to be represented, because I think that's the best decade for the Cybermen. So I would probably pick that. Let's see, what are we on? Season 6, the War Games. Got to be the War Games. I was tempted to add the Invasion. Got to give a shout out to the Invasion, especially if it was complete. It's great, but I love the War Games. Episode 10 is essential Doctor Who, but I love the first 9 episodes as well, especially that episode 9 cliffhanger. One of my favorite cliffhangers in Doctor Who. Season 7, Inferno. This is probably not a surprise to anyone who knows my channel. I love Inferno. I consider it essential Doctor Who. I think it's the best Pertwee story. It's the story that introduces the multiverse to Doctor Who. It is written well, and it's a 7-parter that, for me, never drags. Like, it does not need any cut down on its time. It is perfectly paced. One of the best paced longer Doctor Who stories ever, in my opinion. It's just really, really well done. And plus, it looks really good, I'm sure, on the special edition. I have the original DVD release, but from what I've seen online of the special edition, it looks really good. So I would be hopefully having a special edition DVD in this parallel universe where everything's going wrong. So I love Inferno. I know a lot of people say Spearhead, that's fair, but also with Inferno, I'm getting almost twice as many episodes of what I think is a better story. Season 8 is where I run into my first hard one, because it's hard for me to pick between Terror of the Autons and Mind of Evil. They're both really good. I like this introduction to the Master, especially just his opening scene. And I do like Terror of the Autons quite a bit. Mind of Evil is longer. I do think it's a better story, but it does suffer from its color restoration being one of the roughest looking. It's good, and it's a miracle we have it in color at all, but it is pretty rough. I think Auton's recent, especially Blu-ray recovery, if somehow we had that Blu-ray recovery on the DVD in this universe, it would be really hard to choose between them. I'd probably end up going Mind of Evil, but I'd really have to think about it. Season 9, Day of the Daleks, especially if I could talk the aliens into letting me keep the special edition as well. Aliens, I want the regular version, I want the special edition. Well, that's right, we're not doing the aliens in this one. Luckily, it would all be on one DVD, the regular and special edition. So while the bomb's dropping, I can just grab the one DVD and have both. Yes, I'm getting my Armageddon scenarios mixed up here. It's hard being the planner for all these things, you know. People would not want me in charge during an Armageddon scenario. But I would definitely pick Day of the Daleks. It's one of my favorite Dalek stories, especially if I could have the original and the special edition. Season 10, Three Doctors. I know a lot of people would say Green Death, and that's a very understandable answer. Carnival of Monsters would also be a very understandable answer because it's a very good story as well. But for me, it's Three Doctors. I love the Three Doctors. My favorite multi-doctor story. Plus, we get more Troughton. I'm never going to argue with more Troughton. I love more Troughton. So, plus, just 3 and 2 together is gold. That's just always gold. When they're on screen together, that's just gold. So, Three Doctors. Season 11, The Time Warrior. I love The Time Warrior. It is so good. My favorite Sontaran story. I think that's the only real Pertwee historical, and it's so good. The introduction to Sarah Jane, is she's so good in it. There's a lot of stories I like in Season 11, but Time Warrior is definitely my favorite. It just stands above the rest. Got to be that. Season 12 has to be Genesis. I mean, it has to be Genesis. Genesis might not even be my favorite story of the season. I love Robot a lot. I love The Ark in Space a lot. I enjoy Sontaran Experiment. I really like Revenge of the Cybermen. I mean, I love Season 12. I do. But it has to be Genesis. And I don't think I should have to explain that. Genesis is Genesis, so it has to be Genesis. Season 13. This is probably the one that's going to get me killed in the explosion, because it is really hard to pick one for Season 13. There's so many masterpieces. Basically, though, it boils down to between being Pyramids and Seeds, because I love Pyramids of Mars and I love Seeds of Doom. And the idea of not being able to watch one of them ever again just guts me. I love it. I mean, this season is probably the best season Doctor Who has ever produced. So many good stories. And honestly, while I'm sitting there trying to pick between Pyramids of Mars and Seeds of Doom, more than likely I'm going to die in the atomic explosion. And the wife's going to be like, oh God, he's not coming. Close the door, lock the door now. Needless to say, that would probably be something if I ever got married. She'd make me put that in my vows. And I will never put Doctor Who before you. Wait, you want me to read this? All right. I don't know which one I'd pick. Probably Pyramids of Mars. But if you ask me tomorrow, probably Seeds of Doom. This is probably the hardest one for me to pick out of all of Classic Who. I love both those stories. Season 14, Talons. Gotta be Talons. I consider Talons just a masterpiece. And just it's almost a perfect story. I mean, it's almost perfect. Everything just is so good about Talons. It's Bob Holmes just firing on all cylinders, being the script editor as well. So the only person he really has to answer to is himself. I love that. Bob Holmes, when he doesn't have a script editor he has to deal with, he's just gold. So definitely Talons. Season 15, gotta be Horror of Fang Rot for 2 reasons. One, if I pick anything else, Ham is going to show up at my door knocking, probably with a battle axe in his hands, to explain to me the error of my decision making. 2, I have to pick horror because it's just the best story of the season, in my opinion. I love the horror of Fang Rock. It is the standout, the anchor of the season. And there's other stories I like this season. I like Image a lot. I really like Sunmakers. Underworld's very underrated. But it's got to be horror of Fang Rock. It has to be. Season 16 is a little harder. It's hard for me to pick between Ribos Operator Ribos. I'm never going to get that right. Ribos Operation, you know which one I mean. And Pirate Planet, because I do really love both of those stories. I mean, you have Robert Holmes and you have Douglas Adams, both great Doctor Who writers. I would probably say Pirate Planet because it is my favorite of the season, and I just love Douglas Adams' humor. It fits together with Tom Baker's personality and his portrayal of the Doctor, like just two pieces of a puzzle snapping together, and I really like that. So it's hard to pick, but I would say Pirate Planet. Season 17, City of Death. It has to be City of Death. I think most people would probably pick City of Death. I know not everyone, but I think most people would. City of Death is just, much like how in Season 12 you have to pick Genesis, I think Season 17 you pretty much have to pick City of Death. Not only is it my favorite Doctor Who story, it's just phenomenally good. And I believe still to this day has the record for the highest viewing figures of any Doctor Who story. ITV strike and all, but still the record. Like over 16 million viewers. Season 18, State of Decay. Again, a couple other ones that are really good that you'd want to consider, like Keeper of Traken and Warrior's Gate. But I love State of Decay. It is the masterpiece of the season. I love the throwback horror elements of it. It's easily the one I go back to the most in Season 18. I love that story. Season 19, for me, it would be Castrovalva. Perhaps not the best objective pick. I know some people would pick Kenda. Ugh. You guys know how I feel about Kenda. A lot of people, I'm sure, would pick Earthshock, which is a much more understandable choice. I could definitely see why people would pick Earthshock. It has a good reputation for a reason. It's a great story. Personally, I think I would pick even Forward to Doomsday over Earthshock. I really like Forward to Doomsday. It's a very underrated story. Over Earthshock myself. But I'd pick Castrovalva. Castrovalva is my favorite Fifth Doctor story, so I would want that one just personally. For Season 20, 5 Doctors. I mean, if we did count 5 Doctors separate, I would probably pick Enlightenment. I do like Enlightenment a lot, especially the updated effects in the special edition of it, even if I don't like that movie long format and that widescreen format it has. I love the updated effects themselves. So I'd probably pick that, but I count 5 Doctors as part of the season, so I would pick 5 Doctors. Season 21, got to be Caves of Androzani. I do think it is a masterpiece. I don't think it's the greatest Doctor Who story ever made, or even the greatest classic Who story like some people do, but I do think it is a masterpiece, and objectively Davison's not only best story, but best performance, and of course, again, Bob Holmes being absolutely amazing. So I have to pick that one for that. Season 22. Season 22 is actually very difficult, because Season 22 is an amazing season. It is one of the most underrated seasons in all of classic Doctor Who. So many good stories. There are no stories in Season 22 I dislike. Even Time Lash I like. Granted, I saw it for the first time with the updated effects on the box set, and I do think the updated effects do kind of give it a boost. And plus, I also enjoy it because, one, I think Colin's good in it, and two, I love Paul Darrow in it. He's so much fun to watch. Plus, the Borad makeup and the story itself, I think, are really good. So, the one I would actually pick, though, since I like every story in the season, is probably Mark of the Rani. I think it's a good historical. I like the story. I love Kate O'Mara in it. I love Anthony Ainley being in it, seeing them thrust together, and it's fun. This is the story that really made me realize how the Rani is not a doer. She's a thinker. She's not one who physically gets her hands dirty. She's not a fighter. That's the word. She's not a fighter. She's not going to get out there and throw fists if she can. She's more the ones that likes to pull the strings from the shadows as much as possible. She's a brain, not as much on physical confrontation, which I find interesting. I'd never really picked that up from Time in the Rani. So that was cool. Plus, I love the location work, and I love the incidental music for Mark of the Rani. Such a good story. So that's probably the one I'd pick there. Season 23, probably Mysterious Planet. Terror of the Vervoids does deserve a shout out, but I would probably go with Mysterious Planet. You guys know I like that one a lot. Season 24 was a little trickier. Probably Dragonfire. I think Paradise Towers is probably my favorite of the season, but I would probably pick Dragonfire. I do enjoy the story. It's also got Ace in it. I love Ace a lot, so I would probably pick it for Ace. Plus, it's got Glitz back, and I love Glitz. Tony is just so good at playing this character, who's honestly not a very good character, but he makes him so lovable, almost like a teddy bear or something, you know, that you just want to root for the guy. And that's just a credit to him as an actor, I think. So I love having him back in Dragonfire, so I'd probably pick Dragonfire. Season 25, probably Remembrance. Again, I probably prefer Happiness Patrol, but if I can only have one, I'd probably want to save Remembrance. I'm sure if the fallout ever settles from the atomic stuff, people would be happy I saved it, and it's probably the one I'd find more rewatchable. Season 26 is a little harder. I'd probably end up going Curse of Fenric, but part of me wants to say Ghostlight. I love Ghostlight. There's just something unique about Ghostlight. Like a lot of the ways I think people who love the modern show talk about Midnight, how Midnight is a very original story, and there's no other episode that quite feels like Midnight. I think Classic Who, Ghostlight's kind of the Classic Who version of that. It really is its own kind of unique story, and there's nothing quite like Ghostlight. So part of me wants to pick Ghostlight just for that. However, I don't think I want to be alone with my family in what's possibly always a dark bunker and then be watching Ghostlight. So I'd probably pick Curse of Fenric, which is creepy in its own right, to be honest, but I'd probably pick Curse of Fenric. Yeah, I think the hardest one was definitely season 13. That's the one that would have got me killed. So those are my choices. I want to know what you think of my choices and my reasoning, and which ones you would choose from classic Doctor Who, seasons 1 through 26. If you could only save one story from each season. So comment down below and let me know. Other things to do, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I am trying to grow the channel to 1,000 subscribers, so I certainly appreciate everyone clicking that subscribe button. That helps me out. I also have a Patreon if you like what I do and would like to support what I do. There's a link to that down in the description as well, where you get all sorts of early access to videos and bonus videos and outtakes and bloopers and all that fun stuff. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Colin Coney, and Dr. Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me to look at and review, as well as a link to my Amazon wish list down below as well. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.